The devil's in the design. Here's your look at the Mezco Toyz MDS The Exorcist Regan. The latest edition of Mezco's designer series, Stylized Exorcist, a super deformed take on Regan, the tormented youth. From her unkempt hair to her piercing eyes and devilish grin, no details have been overlooked. The stylized figure comes with interchangeable legs, so Regan is able to change between standing and sitting positions, allowing her to recreate dynamic and nightmarish poses from the film. Regan stands approximately 6 inches tall and features 9 points of articulation. Before we start our playdate with Pazuzu, I knew I shouldn't have sent that RRSP. How about the first thing we do is figure out how tall the figure stands. To do that, I'm going to take my ruler and put it right to the very top of her head. The figure stands at around 6 3/4 of an inch tall, which works out to be a figure that's about 17.5 centimeters tall. The figure includes one lone accessory, which is technically her lower half. I'm not really sure how I feel about this lower half either, because I don't think it makes much sense. We'll talk more about that in a second. Before that, though, let's pick the figure up and get a closer look at Regan, starting first with her devilish-looking eyes. She has what many would consider a face for radio. You can see all the gashes all over her face. I do think that they've done a nice job of painting the face. Like the gashed areas, for example, they've gone in and airbrushed the areas kind of in a darker purple. And I think that works really, really well for the character's face. She has the more darker, grayer areas around her eyes. And you can see that helps to really accent those glowing, piercing eyes staring right into your soul. What was I saying? Oh, right. I do think that they've done a nice job, though, on the eyes. I think they've really helped to make those eyes stand out. And especially when we get the look at the discolored teeth. Like her eyes are a different color than the rest of her face. Ooh, those gruesome looking teeth. The smile is unsettling, I will say, looking at the face like this. The tangled looking hair does look quite good as well. You can see it's got a more darker coloring of brown, but they've also gone in there and airbrushed some additional grimier looking areas of brown. Some of it could be puke, I'm not sure, but it's a really good looking head sculpt, though. I will say it's like one of the best MDS figures that we've gotten from Mezco Toyz, and we've actually looked at quite a lot here on this channel as well. And then we get kind of to her lower half, which consists of her nightgown and robe. It is, like in the movie, fairly accurate. I do like the wrinkles that they've added to it. The sleeves, as you can see, don't go all the way to her wrists, but then at least allows you the chance to see the gnarly looking fingernails that they've sculpted and painted to her hand. I think the gesture works well for Regan. It certainly does look like she's rather possessed. Now the figure does have articulation that we'll talk more about in a second. Going back though to this, which is the lower half of her, the idea is that you can then take the figure, detach her from her torso like this, and you also want to go in there and remove the legs. There's a reasoning for that. I'm going to put this to the side, and then you get this lower half that instead of having straight legs, I'm going to pop this in place so you can see what I'm doing here. So instead of it looking straight down, she's actually now got bent knees, kind of like that. And then from there, you can go ahead and take the feet, making sure, of course, you have them going the right way, and those just pop into those holes. Now, being that these are also ball joints, it does give her some additional articulation. Again, we'll talk more about in a second. The idea is it's supposed to kind of give her in a seated position. I don't find it's all that successful, though, because when you do put her down on a surface, she's way too top-heavy to actually stay in place. You can kind of compensate it by bringing the arms around. That gives her a little bit of stabilization. Bringing the arms back like this. And that works okay, but that only works if you have the arms down. Again, if you take the arms and move them forward, her head is just way too big and way too heavy. As you can see, the figure topples right over. Not really sure why they had to give her like the bent knees like this. I feel they could have easily just gone with straight legs. Having them straight out like this and even put maybe a blanket over top or something. Or even just having her legs straight. So she's sitting up and she's looking right at you. What was I talking about again? Another thing they could have also done too is given her that spider leg pose, or when she's walking down the stairs the opposite way. They could have, You can't even really take the torso either and flip this around because there's a designated way. See, it only fits one shape to one shape. You can't spin it around or anything like that. So, you know, I feel like this is a bit of a fail when it comes to the lower torso. Again, just short of bringing her arms back is about the only way that you can compensate for her being sitting up like this. Why didn't they just have the legs straight? Not that that would have helped, because of course her head is so big in the first place, but I think that doing it like this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Let's go ahead and just pop this back off, replace it back with the straight way. Anyways, though, when it comes to displaying her on the shelf, I will most definitely be displaying her with, first of all, legs. Just pop those back into place. Most of my MDS figures anyways, well, all of my MDS figures generally are standing anyways, so I think when it comes to Regan, making sure her feet are nice and straight. There we go. I wanted to say anyways another time. Yeah, I'm probably just going to have her standing straight like this. Good idea, I mean, for Mezco to throw in something extra to change out, give her some interchangeable options. But again, I don't feel like this was all that successful at all. It just results in the figure more times than not falling straight over. For Regan's posability, her head is on a ball joint, so if you did want to be that guy that likes to freak out his friends, you can actually have the head rotating the opposite way around, or every single time they went up to get a drink, just go up to Regan and just have the head turning just a little bit, so it keeps following your friends. Guaranteed way of never having your friends coming over again. But because it's also on a ball joint, what you can also do too, is the head gives you a wide range to look up, to look down, and you can also angle it back and forth too. I'm going to just move the head this way, just so I can gain access to the arms. One of the downsides of having the hair so long on the back is it's going to cause problems when it comes to rotating the arms. The arms are on hinges, so you can rotate them around this way, but you can also bring them out this way as well, at about a 45-degree angle bend. Speaking of bends, though, when it comes to her elbows, instead of giving you a hinge joint, these MDS figures, what they tend to do instead is put a swivel there. So in 1 minute, you actually have a straight arm on Regan. The next minute, though, you take the arm and you swivel it this way, and then just, of course, rotate the wrist this way. And now, instantly, she's got herself a bent elbow. And it still, the whole time, looks seamless on her sleeve. I like always when they do that. And, of course, she does also have swivels on her wrist, too. So you can rotate those all the way around. Just by the nature of the fact that you can be doing a magic trick and cutting her in half every single time, she doesn't have any torso articulation. Unfortunately, though, just because you are going to be removing this top part and leaving the bottom half and then swapping it out, it results in a nice little seam line right there. It's not so nice, but it's there, unfortunately. And then when it comes to, of course, her feet, the feet are on ball joints, so you can move them back and forth this way, and you can also rotate them all the way around. But let's be fair. Let's be fair. Even if there's articulation in the feet, you really have to have the feet facing a right way anyways, because, of course, the figure's going to have to be able to stabilize herself because she's got such a large-looking head. I really like the look of Regan. What I don't like, though, is this part right here. I mean, I'll give points to Mezco for at least thinking outside the demonic-looking bed and giving her something other than just having her standing straight like this. But I don't think this is working. And being the fact it's just bent just enough to kind of have her leaning forward, it results in the figure just falling over. I think instead what they should have done in just giving her maybe like instead of like this, just having it straight. And just having her sitting up in the bed. Then you could still turn the head and still freak out your friends when they come over to see your collection. Despite whatever problems I have with the lower half of Regan, she's actually a nice looking MDS figure. I mean, just looking at the back of the box like this, she's in that crouch position utilizing that interchangeable lower half. There's no way she can do that. She can't. Unless you have something propped up behind her back that's holding her up. If you want to have her giggling in bed like that, it ain't going to work, my friends. No way, no how. The only way that it is going to work using that lower interchangeable part is by bringing the arms back and sort of tripoding the top of her torso because her head is way too big. Good idea on Mezco's part, poorly executed if you ask me. No, rather instead, I'm just happy to display Regan on the shelf, creepily just standing there. That's all she needs to do, staring deep into your soul. What do you guys think of the MDS Mezco Designer Series Exorcist Regan? That was a bit of a mouthful. Let me know down below in the comments section whether you picked up the figure for yourself or just based on this review and this review alone. And hey now, you don't have to be possessed. Well, don't really encourage people that are possessed to come visit the channel, certainly coming for premieres, especially on the days that I have pea soup. But if you guys are enjoying the content that you're seeing, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, turn on the bell notification, and come back, please and thank you, because there will be more reviews coming your way in the not so distant future. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.